the county supervisor does. All right. So, Steve, educate our listeners. What is it that a county supervisor does?
Well, I will preface by saying that if any of your listeners do not know what the county supervisors do, they are in the majority, not the minority, because it's really one of those more obscure offices. And I believe the best and easiest way to explain it is think of it as a bridge between your local government and your state government. Things that kind of fall to the wayside from state government and local government get picked up by the county. Maricopa County is the fourth largest county in the nation right now, so we have a lot to celebrate by being one of the larger counties. So if you were to break it down without boring your listeners, I will tell you that you've got the county attorney's office. So if someone is sentenced to a prison term and that term exceeds 12 months, then they become a part of the state prison system. If that term is less than 12 months, then they go into the county jail system, tent city, as you know, or whatever other form of county jail system they might go into. So that would be one function of how the criminal aspect works. And the county attorney, obviously, is responsible for the county courts and the county jurisdictions as it relates to law enforcement. Sheriff Arpaio is an elected official. It's his job to run efficiently the sheriff's office. And so that falls under the umbrella of the county government and technically of the supervisors. Property taxes. That's one of the biggest ways that it touches every resident, is to make sure that they're lining up what the assessor is saying the value of the home is and how that property tax should be assessed. So that's another function. And then two more examples would be the health, the public health. They work with the Department of Public Health for the state. So health and restaurant inspections, vector control, right, for mosquitoes and whatnot. And then lastly, air quality and making sure that we're in compliance. There's roughly 45 departments within the county. It's a $2.3 billion budget annually, and there's roughly 13,000 employees.
And every district has their own county supervisor.
That's correct. Five for Maricopa County.
Okay. So why is it that you want to be a county supervisor?
Well, before we went to break, I saw it as a need for change, a need to restore some integrity to public office, to make sure that we're giving that return on investment to the taxpayers and the residents of Maricopa County. And you look at it, I looked at it from two perspectives, one from a business case and one from a resident's case. Businesses feel as though they're in this game of gotcha, that the county should be more of a facilitator in meeting the needs of business and residents, but yet oftentimes it seems as though they're trying to say, here's what you're doing wrong, or here's what we're going to fine you for, instead of trying to work to correct it. I think it's gotten much, much better. But what I saw was over-regulation and over-emphasis into the daily lives of residents and of businesses. And I think it's time to turn that around. The finger-pointing, the infighting, the lawsuits, all of that I felt was wrong. It's a personal conviction, nothing else, nothing more. And I felt as though I believe I had something that I could contribute. The same way I contributed to the Arizona restaurant industry, I felt as though I can contribute to my fellow residents of Maricopa County.
And from looking on your website, which is stevechucri.com, and listeners, I'm going to share that on the Social View page. I'll also be sharing that on the audio video once it's shared on the page. It looks like you have gotten some great endorsements. So let's talk a little bit about that.
I've been very blessed. This is, I should have prefaced by saying, too, last go around, that this is my first foray into politics. I've never sought elective office before. I've got a clean slate in that way. And so when you're doing that, you don't have a record. And that serves both good and bad. Some people say, well, if you've never been in politics, you're not going to do well because you don't know what to do. Well, as I started to deliberate and go into this decision to run, I had contacted many officials, elected officials, and told them about it. And it's that momentum kept building and building and building. So now I've got the governor, her endorsement. I've got Bill Montgomery, who I think is a key endorsement. Senator John Kyle, who is now retiring from politics and I think is an epitome of how to be a public servant with no innuendo, with no scandal over the whole course of his tenure. Every Republican in the congressional delegation and 6 mayors. And I think they didn't endorse me because they thought Steve Chucri was a great guy per se. I think they share the same message that I have, and I think they share the same vision that we can bring Maricopa County to be one of the most premier counties in the nation. And so in sharing what I believe we can do in making the county stronger and making it more accountable to the residents, they agreed, and they signed on and have backed me wholeheartedly, not just giving me their name, but really actively helping me, which is very great. I'm very grateful for. And
I have to tell you, I commend your website, your Facebook. You had incredible information everywhere. I really got a picture of who, because I mean, you and I have only met once. And
That's
so
right.
I really got a background of who you are, what your values, and your values are very much in line with mine. So I was really looking forward to having you on the show. Okay, so just briefly, let's touch on your issues. Communication between governments, government
Right.
reform, conservative leadership. Let's just...
Sure. And I'll tell you, your voters, something you're going to really like, Christina, is I was at a senior facility yesterday, and a gentleman came up to me and said, I already voted for you. And I said, well, how did you know? Well, I went to your website and I went to your Facebook page. So there, you can't put age associated with social media, but most of what I want to do is I want to take a business approach to protect not only businesses, but residents. If you want to go and have some type of a horse shelter on your property and you're told no by the county when you bought that property specifically for that reason, there needs to be a better way. So what I want to do is if you're not communicating, like I said, with local municipalities and the state legislature, how can you problem solve? I want to increase that communication between elected officials, not only at the county level, but at the local level and at the state level. I also want to bring back, I think, integrity, the same steady hand that Bill Montgomery has brought to the county attorney's office. I want to bring to county government. And I want to start to hold government accountable. There are certain departments where they're increasing the fees and they're lowering the staffing levels. So you're paying more for less. Why is that? I don't think the tough questions are being asked. And that's something I certainly intend to do.
Well, congratulations on making this first venture into politics. Do you have long-term political goals?
I keep getting asked that, and I say, boy, people have more confidence than they should because I got to get elected first and do my job right. And I think that right now I'm going to look at what I can do for Maricopa County, and if I do my job well, then I'll probably seek re-election. But I'm not really focused beyond that as of now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. So we talked a little bit about what you believe in, your belief system. Teresa, you have an interesting project that you're working on, and it's the Tell Your Story. Can we talk a little bit about that now?
Yes. Tell Your Story began because there's a lot of people very dissatisfied about how the media defines what being a conservative or being a Republican is. I get continuously tired of hearing that we're all rich, that we don't care about other people. So I decided that there has to be a better way. And also my question is, why is it that we have such a great message, but we're not communicating that message as well as we should be? So I started to recruit groups of people to come in and tell their story, tell why I am a Republican. And overwhelmingly, the majority of people I talked to were all working class, middle class Americans. We work hard, we raise our children, we live our lives the right way, but continuously our current government is in a state where they think that, we're going to tell you what to do, we're going to raise your taxes, we're going to enslave you more to your government, and that's not what the majority of people want, despite what the media will make you believe.
I have to tell you, it's interesting. Growing up, I had two parents who were Democrats, and I grew up hearing consistently when I would ask, what's the difference between a Republican and a Democrat? The messaging that I heard from my parents, who I really think both my parents are really smart people, but both of them said that Republicans are all about the rich and Democrats are all about the poor. Well, I believed that so much so that in the last election, I voted for Obama. Then, and I will tell you this, I was politically very young, was not very educated on politics. Since then, I learned a lot more, and I started to learn what the Republican Party is really about. I've since changed my status, I am a Republican, and I've been very outspoken about why I'm not voting for Obama again. I kind of feel like I have a responsibility since I messed up so poorly last time. So I love this, and I love that it gives people an opportunity to share their story.
Yes. And, part of it is, too, my background is in economics. And I had a professor at Arizona State University, and he shared a story about how he started out early in his life as a liberal until he learned about how economics really works. And sitting here, we had a little discussion about Adam Smith's invisible hand. Businesses will change with the conditions of the marketplace, sometimes not as fast as some people want, but inevitably they will, just to keep pace so that people keep coming back and they stay in business. And when you continually have government regulation bearing down, and Obamacare is a big threat. Steve Chucri just mentioned that even to the Restaurant Association, that particular piece of legislation has the potential to do major damage to this country.
Right. I agree with that. We are going to go to our break. We will be back in 2 minutes, and we're going to talk more about how people can tell their story. We're going to talk about how fundraising differs between Republicans and Democrats, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the really exciting announcement that happened this morning. So we'll be back in 2 minutes. You're listening to The Social View. I'm Christina Wagner.
A national business incubation